Fallen stars, Christian Pulisic, captain of the United States, the most expensive signing in Chelsea history, and the man who scored the goal that saved the United States from humiliation in the World Cup against Iran. And that same man, broken on a hospital stretcher with an injury doctors called extraordinarily rare in a living soccer player, being the son of a father who was a professional failure. At 16 years old, vomiting from nerves before his first training session because he couldn't say a single word in German. Today you're going to find out the ordeal Christian Pulisic went through to become the greatest American soccer player in history. What the Schalke 04 Ultras did to his father in the stands at the Signal Iduna Park while he watched from the field at 17 years old. And the darkest part of all, what his own mother Kelly confessed one January dawn inside a hospital room in Pennsylvania that broke the Pulisic family in two forever. His name is Christian Mate Pulisic, and the disgusting truth of everything he suffered to get here has never been revealed. Until today. But first you need to know how Christian Pulisic got here. Hershey, Pennsylvania, a town of 14,000 people planted in the middle of America's rural interior. An entire town built around a single chocolate factory. The streetlights on Main Street are shaped like foil-wrapped chocolate kisses. The kids in this town grow up knowing one thing. If you don't get out of Hershey, you're going to end up on the factory assembly line making $12 an hour. Like your father. Like your grandfather. Right there, in a two-story White House with a plastic goal planted in the front yard, was raised the man who today carries American soccer on his back. The father's name was Mark Pulisic. 42 years old. He had played college soccer. He had signed 0 professional outdoor soccer contracts in his entire life. He had signed with a second-division indoor soccer team that played in half-empty arenas for $2,500 a month. And when he hung up his cleats at 32, he started coaching 12-year-olds at a small club in Dauphin County for $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month. With a mortgage. With 3 kids. And with a wife who was an elementary school teacher, pulling in another $2,700 a month teaching math in downtown Hershey. Have you ever wondered what a 42-year-old man feels when he realizes his life isn't going to change anymore? That he already failed? That the one promise he made to his dying father in a hospital 20 years ago can never be kept because the years are gone? Mark Pulisic lived with that question stuck in his chest for 4 straight years. Until the youngest son arrived. The mother's name was Kelly Pulisic, 40 years old. She and Mark had met in college playing soccer against each other. She was better than him. Everyone who saw her play at George Mason will tell you that today without hesitation. She gave it all up to raise kids in a house that never quite finished getting paid off. The kids were 3, Devon, the older sister, Chase, the middle brother, and Christian, the youngest, the one who arrived by surprise one September Monday at the Hershey Regional Hospital. Dark brown hair, gray eyes inherited from the Croatian grandfather. And hold on to that detail, because when you understand what Mark Pulisic had promised inside a hospital room 13 years earlier, in front of his own dying father, you're going to understand why that man, at 42 years old, was willing to gamble his marriage, his job, his mortgaged house, and his entire life on the youngest son. 4 things. He gambled 4 things. The Croatian grandfather's name was Mate Puli. Born in a village on the Dalmatian coast called Olib, carpenter by trade, son of a fisherman, survivor of World War II, where he lost 2 brothers in the mountains of Bosnia fighting against Tito's partisans. And in the year 1950, at 22 years old, he boarded a cargo ship from the port of Rijeka with a cardboard suitcase $12 American in his pocket, and a forged passport that took him 6 months to prepare in the underground. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean for 23 days. He walked down the gangway at Pier 61 of Ellis Island, New York, one Tuesday morning in June of 1950. He never set foot on European soil again for the next 4 decades. Mate Puli settled in Long Island. He worked as a carpenter. He married an Irish immigrant named Margaret. They had 2 sons. One of them, the younger one, was named Mark, the future father of Christian Pulisic. And Mate Puli, throughout all those years living in the United States, carried a silent obsession that never let his sons rest. The obsession that a descendant of his, a male of Puli blood, would play soccer professionally. In Europe, under contract, in a stadium, with fans. His son Mark, the father of Christian, tried and failed. He failed in college. He failed in indoor soccer. He failed at the tryouts he did with European clubs at 21. Tryouts he never told the American press about. And on October 14, 1985, inside a private room at Long Island Jewish Medical Center, with grandfather Mate hooked up to a morphine IV, Mark Pulisic walked over to the bed, took his father's right hand in both of his, and made a promise in a low voice that the nurse on duty that night happened to overhear from the half-open door. And never forgot 4 sentences. He promised him 4 sentences. Have you ever wondered what a man carries in his chest when he makes a promise to his dying father that he knows he can't keep? How much does that promise weigh? How many years does it last? Mark Pulisic carried those 4 sentences for 13 years. Until Christian came along. Hold on to those 4 sentences, because they're the reason the Pulisic family broke in 2 in the year 2023 inside a Pennsylvania hospital room we'll get to in due time. 4 sentences. Hold them there. Christian grew up like the other 2 siblings. Public elementary school, warm lunch at noon, dinner with all 5 around the dining room table, pancakes on Sunday mornings, Lutheran church on Saturday nights, a plastic ball rolling through the hallway of the bedroom since he learned to walk. And here's where the boy started being different. Devon, the older sister, was good in school. Chase, the middle brother, played baseball. Like every American kid his age, like every kid in the chocolate town. Baseball and football, nothing else. Christian, from the age of 2, would not let go of the ball, one his father had given him for his first birthday, bought at a sporting goods store in the Harrisburg Mall for $22. Christian slept with that ball. He ate with that ball between his legs. He bathed with that ball inside the bathtub. And when his mother tried to put it away in the top of the hallway closet, because it was already destroyed from being bitten, the boy cried for 4 straight hours until Mark pulled the ball down and gave it back to him. 4 hours. A 3-year-old doesn't spend 4 hours crying over a ball. Christian held on until he won. And that night, sitting on the living room couch, Mark Pulisic looked at Kelly with the expression of a man who had just seen a ghost. The ghost of grandfather Mate, the ghost of the Long Island promise. Have you ever wondered what a failed father feels when he sees in his youngest son the last chance to keep a promise he's been carrying in silence for 13 years? 4 things he feels: hope, fear, debt, and guilt. And in the summer of 2005, Kelly Pulisic received a letter from the American federal government, with official Fulbright letterhead of the International Educational Exchange Program. Kelly hid it for 4 straight days inside the napkin drawer of the dining room without telling Mark. 4 days. On the 5th day, a Friday night, after dinner, with all 3 kids asleep upstairs, she took the letter out of the drawer, put it on the dining room table in front of Mark, and told him 4 words. She told him Oxford, England, 1 year. Mark Pulisic sat 47 minutes at the dining room table without saying a single word. And when the 47 minutes had passed, he stood up, walked to the entrance hallway, called his mother Margaret on Long Island, and told her the entire family was moving to England in August. Margaret told her son 4 words in Croatian. She said mate would be proud now. Mark hung up the phone. He sat down on the hallway floor with his back against the wall. And he cried in silence for the next 20 minutes. 4 words. 4 minutes. 4 decades. Everything added up. In August of that same year, all 5 Pulisics landed at Heathrow with 7 suitcases and a rental contract for a stone farmhouse in an Oxfordshire village called Tackley. Christian Pulisic set foot on the village youth club field for the first time one Saturday in September. 7 years old, with American soccer cleats size 3 bought on clearance, with a United States national team jersey Mark had bought at a store in Philadelphia. The other 19 boys at practice were English. All of them. Christian walked onto the field, and in the next 40 minutes of the scrimmage, he scored 4 goals. 4 goals in front of 19 English kids staring from midfield with no idea what was happening. 4 goals in front of the smoking parents on the sideline who stopped talking about the Premier League and started watching The Little American. And 4 goals in front of Father Mark Pulisic, standing at the end of the field with his hands in the pockets of his winter coat, with wet eyes, saying absolutely nothing. In Tackley began the fulfillment of what had been promised in Long Island in the autumn of 1985. Over the next 11 months in Tackley, Christian Pulisic scored 84 goals. He earned the nickname the American Kid throughout the county, and he transformed his father Mark into a different man. A man who started traveling every weekend to Premier League matches, who bought the cheapest tickets in the upper deck at Highbury, at Stamford Bridge, at Old Trafford, who brought Christian with him, and who started writing down by hand, in a blue-covered notebook, bought at a bookshop in downtown Oxford, everything he saw at every match. That blue notebook existed. That blue notebook accompanied Mark Pulisic for the next 14 years. And that blue notebook resurfaced 14 years later inside a desk drawer of a rented house in London, when Christian signed with Chelsea for €64 million. Hold on to that blue notebook. The first 3 pages are normal notes. But page 4 contains something different. Different pen. Red ink. Shakier handwriting. It's the first time in 21 years that Mark Pulisic put in, writing the complete promise he had made to his dying father in the Long Island hospital. The part his wife Kelly didn't know about. We're going to that page 4 when it's time. Kelly's Fulbright program ended in July of 2006. The family packed up, left the stone house in Tackley, and flew back to the United States. But they didn't return to Hershey. They went to Michigan. Because Mark had received a call from the owner of a professional indoor soccer team called Detroit Ignition, offering him the general manager position. $54,000 a year. A club-paid rental house. 4-year contract. Mark accepted. Without discussing it with Kelly. Without telling the kids, Christian, at 8 years old, enrolled at Workman Elementary School in Oakland County. And he started playing at a youth club called Michigan Rush. Over the next 12 months, he scored 119 goals in 44 matches. 119 goals. At 8 years old. The scouts started showing up at the games. One of them, a senior scout for the U.S. under-15 national team, flew in from California just to see him. At 37 minutes into the game, after watching the boy score 4 goals, he closed his notebook without writing anything and called Claudio Reyna, former captain of the American national team. The call lasted 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Have you ever wondered what 4 words a scout says to a former national team captain when he's just seen the kid who can change American soccer forever? He told him he had found the chosen one. And Reyna took 4 seconds to reply. He told him to bring the kid to the East Coast. In September of 2007, after just 12 months living in Michigan, the Pulisic family got back in the family car, crossed 5 states heading east, and returned to Hershey. Christian, at 9 years old, joined the youth ranks of PA Classics, a youth club in Lancaster County. A normal club. One of the many. Discreet, without publicity, playing matches on public parks fields. And over the next 4 years, Christian Pulisic scored goals in silence while the American press wrote about other boy prodigies. 4 years training at 6 in the morning with Father Mark. 4 years carrying the weight of a Croatian last name that his great-grandfather had taken to the grave with a promise half kept. In 2013, at 14 years old, he entered the Federation's Under-17 residency program in Bradenton, Florida. Christian left Hershey on August 14, 2013. He got in the passenger seat of the family car, and Mark Pulisic drove him himself all the way to Bradenton on a 28-hour road trip. 28 straight hours behind the wheel. No hotels. No sleep. Refusing to let Kelly take turns driving. Mark wanted to take him alone. That detail matters, because during those 28 hours in the car between Pennsylvania and Florida, Mark and Christian had the longest conversation they had ever had in 14 years of living together. 4 things Mark told Christian in the car between Hershey and Bradenton. First, that he would never attend an American college. Second, that he could not have a serious girlfriend until age 24. Third, that if Mark ever got sick, Christian had to keep playing no matter what. And the fourth. The fourth thing Mark Pulisic told his son that night inside the family car near Savannah, Georgia, with the rain hitting the windshield, is the reason the Pulisic family broke in 2 forever in the year 2023. We're going to that fourth thing when it's time. In December of 2013, the U.S. Under-17 team traveled to Fort Lauderdale for the International Nike Friendlies tournament. 4 teams invited: Brazil, Turkey, Portugal, and the United States. The final on December 14 between the United States and Brazil. The United States beat Brazil 4-1. Christian Pulisic scored 2 of the 4 goals. At 15 years old. And that night, inside the locker room of Lockhart Stadium, a foreign man crossed through the doorway. A German man, long black wool overcoat unbuttoned, fine metal-framed glasses, heavy Ruhr accent, and a gray folder in his right hand with 23 typed pages inside. That man's name was Lars Ricken, former striker for Borussia Dortmund, Champions League winner in 1997, and director of the German club's youth academy. Lars Ricken had crossed the Atlantic just to watch a 15-year-old American kid play in a youth tournament in Florida. He walked directly toward Mark Pulisic and asked him if they could talk for 4 minutes. Mark left the locker room with Ricken, and there, in the parking lot of Lockhart Stadium, Ricken asked him to come that same night at 11 to room 404 at the Fort Lauderdale Marriott with the boy. Room 404. 4th floor. 11 at night. Mark answered 4 words. He said he'd be there. Lars Ricken went up to the 4th floor at 10:54 at night. He knocked 4 times. Mark opened the door. Behind Mark, sitting on the double bed with the under-17 jersey still on, was Christian Pulisic, 15 years old. Messy hair, tired eyes. Lars Ricken talked for 44 minutes. He explained to Father Mark that Borussia Dortmund was ready to sign the boy the moment he turned 16. That German law only allowed signing foreign minors with a European passport. That Christian, through grandfather Mate Puli of Olub, was entitled to Croatian dual citizenship. And he explained how much the club was going to pay the father for accompanying the boy to Dortmund during the first 4 years. 84,000 euros a year. Club paid rental house. Car in Mark's name. Private German medical insurance for the whole family. And a youth academy coaching position with an indefinite contract. Have you ever wondered what an American father who has been earning $1,200 a month for 4 years feels when they put an 84,000 euro a year contract in front of him? His breath cuts short. His hands start shaking. When Rickon finished, he closed the gray folder, slid it across the side table, and told Mark he needed an answer before dawn. Mark looked at his son Christian sitting on the bed. He asked him if he was willing to go to Germany with him. Christian Pulisic answered 4 words. He said he was ready. And this is where Lars Rickon pulled from the gray folder a second document. An additional document. 4 typed pages in German. No English translation. With 4 paragraphs highlighted in yellow marker. And with 4 blank lines at the bottom of the last page waiting for Mark Pulisic's handwritten signature as legal guardian of the minor. The 4 conditions Mark Pulisic signed that night in room 404 of the Fort Lauderdale Marriott. While Christian couldn't understand a single word of the German document, were these. Condition number 1. Christian could not change agents for 6 years without express authorization from Dortmund. The designated agency was a German firm based in Munich whose owner, a man named Roger Whitman, was going to take 15% of every income the player made for 4 years. Condition number 2. All of Christian's personal earnings for the first 4 years of the contract would be deposited into a Deutsche Bank account in Father Mark Pulisic's name only. Sole account holder. Sole signature authority for everything. Condition number 3. If Christian ever wanted to break the Dortmund contract or leave for another club without authorization, the financial penalty would apply directly to Mark Pulisic's personal assets. The Hershey house, the savings, the pension fund, everything. And condition number 4. The 4th condition. The one Mark Pulisic signed by hand with a blue pen at 11:37 at night on December 14, 2013, with Christian asleep in the bed next to him unaware of a single word of German in the document, was this. Mark Pulisic agreed that in case of divorce from Kelly Pulisic during the 4 years following the contract, his wife would have no access to any income derived from their son's professional career. That meant 0 alimony, 0 community property rights, 0 future inheritance rights. 4 conditions. Signed by hand by Mark Pulisic. While his wife slept 4,000 miles away, while his son slept in the bed beside him. Lufthansa Flight 449 took off from Philadelphia International Airport on January 4, 2015 at 9:15 at night. A Sunday night. Inside the plane were 2 passengers with the last name Pulisic. Mark, 45 years old, and Christian, 16 years old. Kelly said goodbye at the gate, crying in silence, with older sister Devon holding her arm. Brother Chase didn't come to the airport. Chase stayed at the Hershey house, locked in his room from 4 in the afternoon, refusing to come down and say goodbye to his little brother. And in the overhead compartment above seats 23A and 23B of Lufthansa Flight 449, on top of a winter coat, under a plastic bag with 2 Granny Smith apples Kelly had packed for her son before leaving the house, was Mark Pulisic's blue-covered notebook. What Mark Pulisic had written in March of 2006 on page 4 of the blue notebook. 2 months before returning to the United States from Oxfordshire were 4 handwritten lines in American cursive in red ink. The 4 lines translated into English, word by word, the complete promise Mark had made to his dying father, Mate, in the Long Island hospital in October of 1985. And below the 4 lines, a 5th sentence written in different ink, in smaller handwriting, said only one thing. It said that if Christian became a professional in European soccer, Mark Pulisic would leave Kelly Pulisic. That was the secret part. The part Kelly didn't know in the summer of 2005 when she hid the Fulbright letter for 4 days in the napkin drawer. Mark Pulisic had decided in March of 2006 that if his son's project moved forward, he would leave the marriage. The plane landed in Frankfurt at 11:14 in the morning of January 5. A Dortmund driver took them in a black Volkswagen Passat to a furnished apartment in the Hershey neighborhood. Small kitchen, brown leather couch, empty fridge. And this is where Christian Pulisic, at 16 years old, started breaking inside for the first time in his life. The first week, Christian trained with the club's under-19 team at the Hohenbouche Academy. He took the bus from Hershey, 44 minutes each way, alone with the language barrier stuck in his chest every day. The second week was worse. The other 19 boys of the Dortmund under-19 team, all Germans, started making fun of Christian's English accent. They gave him a nickname. They called him Der Amerikaner, the American, with the marked R's of Ruhr German. Mocking him. Christian swallowed the silence. He swallowed the jokes. He swallowed the loneliness. He held on. And on Saturday night of the second week, after an especially hard training session, where the coach made him repeat a finishing drill 44 times in a row until he got it right, Christian came back to the Hershey apartment on the bus, went upstairs, walked into the bathroom, locked the door, and vomited for 23 straight minutes over the toilet. 23 minutes vomiting. A 16-year-old kid. Alone in a rented bathroom. 4,000 miles from his mother. Mark Pulisic heard him from the living room. He didn't go into the bathroom. He stayed sitting on the brown leather couch waiting. And when Christian came out of the bathroom at 11:14 at night, with his shirt stained, with red eyes, with shaking hands, Mark asked him the only question a father can ask a 16-year-old son in a rented apartment in deep Germany. He asked him if he wanted to go home. And Christian Pulisic, 16 years old, with a broken voice, answered 4 words. He said there was no going back. 4 words. The same 4 words Mark had said to his dying father in the Long Island hospital 29 years earlier. Christian debuted in the German Bundesliga on January 30th, 2016. He came on in the 62nd minute against FC Ingolstadt 04. He replaced Colombian Adrian Ramos. He played 28 minutes, touched the ball 9 times. Nothing memorable. But when the referee blew the final whistle, he walked to the sideline, searched the upper deck for Father Mark, and raised his right fist toward him. Just Mark in the stands. Just Christian on the field. 2 men paying off a blood debt signed 31 years earlier. And on April 17th, 2016, Christian scored his first professional goal. Against Hamburg SV. Minute 57. A right-footed cross shot after a pass from Marco Reus. He ran to the corner, dropped to his knees on the grass, and with his fist on his chest shouted 4 words in English toward the upper deck. The same 4 words. There is no going back. And this is where the darkest part of Christian Pulisic's time in Germany began, because over the next 4 years at the Signal Iduna Park, between 2016 and 2019, something happened in the stands of that stadium in 4 different matches against Schalke 04 that the American sports press never covered. 4 Revier Derby matches. the hottest derby in German soccer. And in those 4 matches, the Schalke Ultras, knowing Mark Pulisic always sat in row 44 of the Upper South Stand, began hanging banners in the visiting section aimed specifically at him. 4 banners. In 4 different matches. The first banner appeared on October 29, 2016. The translation read, "Failed American Daddy." The second, on April 8, 2017, "You Sold Your Son." The third, on November 25, 2017, "The Son Buys the Father." And the fourth banner appeared on October 27, 2018. That fourth banner had no letters. It carried a photograph. A black and white photograph printed at giant size on a blue cloth 13 feet by 10. The photograph was of Mark Pulisic, sitting in row 44 of the Upper South Stand, baseball cap on, eyes crying, after the October 2016 match where Christian, at 18 years old, had missed a decisive penalty against Schalke. Someone had photographed Mark Pulisic crying in the stands that night, and 2 years later that same photograph appeared printed at giant size in the visiting section of the Signal Iduna Park, with one sentence written below in red letters. 4 words in German. The translation read, "American father still cries." Have you ever wondered what an American man feels when he sees his own face crying printed giant size on an ultra banner with 40,000 fans chanting? Shame, rage, humiliation, and the urge to run down onto the field to protect his son. Christian Pulisic, from the field, in the yellow Dortmund jersey with number 22 on his back, saw the banner, saw his father, saw the photograph, and he understood, at 20 years old, that he had to get his father out of Dortmund, now, at any price. And that night, back in the Kirchert apartment, Christian made a phone call. One call. It lasted 4 minutes. He called a phone number in the city of London, a number Roger Whitman had passed him 2 weeks earlier. The number belonged to a director of an English Premier League club, a London club, a club with a blue crest. And 4 weeks later, Christian Pulisic was sitting in room 1847 of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York with an 87-page contract on the side table, and a Chelsea Football Club director waiting for his signature. The man walked into room 1847 at 4:14 in the afternoon of January 2, 2019. Navy blue suit. 62 years old. And a black leather briefcase. Christian Pulisic was 20 years old. Alone, his father Mark had gone down to the lobby to meet with 2 union lawyers in the CAF. The man locked the door from the inside and pulled from the briefcase an 87-page contract written in British English with the Chelsea Football Club crest on the header. And on the last page, a number written by hand in blue pen. 64 million euros. He told Christian that Chelsea was going to pay Dortmund 64 million, that his salary would be 140,000 euros a week, that he would wear number 22. And he told him there were 4 clauses of the contract highlighted in yellow marker on pages 34, 51, 68, and 82. And he asked him to sign before his father Mark came up from the lobby. Have you ever wondered what a 20-year-old American kid feels when they put a 64 million euro contract in British English in front of him and ask him to sign it without a lawyer, without his father, without an agent? Vertigo, fear, the weight of the Croatian promise, and the urge to sign fast before doubt sets in. Christian Pulisic signed the contract at 4:28 in the afternoon with the stranger's pen, in front of a 62-year-old man he had never met, and with the handwritten signature at the bottom of page 87 without having read the 4 highlighted clauses, and without knowing that the highlighted clause on page 68 written in British legal English he didn't fully understand, contained 4 words in the left margin, handwritten in the same blue pen. The translation read, "Exclusive club property for 20 years." Christian Pulisic, at 20 years old, had signed a contract that made him the exclusive property of an English club for the next 20 years of his life. Mark Pulisic came up from the lobby at 4:45. He saw the signed contract on the table, and he read the 4 highlighted clauses. And at 7:40 in the evening of that January 2nd, 2019, Mark went down to the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria, walked out onto 49th Street of Manhattan, and called from a payphone at the corner with Park Avenue a Philadelphia lawyer, whose name the Pulisic family has never revealed. 4 words from the Philadelphia lawyer were enough for Mark. He told him the clause was illegal, but if Mark filed suit, if he tried to break the contract in an English court, Chelsea's lawyers were going to reveal the other document, the additional document in German. The 4 conditions Mark had signed in room 404 of the Fort Lauderdale Marriott in December of 2013, including the anti-divorce clause against Kelly. And if that came out, Kelly Pulisic was going to find out. She was going to read page 4 of the blue notebook. She was going to know her husband had planned to leave her back in March of 2006 inside a stone house in Tackley. Mark Pulisic had 2 options that January afternoon in 2019 at the corner of 49th and Park Avenue in Manhattan. Fight the Chelsea clause and lose Kelly, or shut up and watch his son rot on the Stamford Bridge bench for the next 2 years. Mark Pulisic chose to shut up, and that decision was the beginning of the end of the Pulisic marriage. Christian Pulisic joined Chelsea in the summer of 2019, and from the first day he understood something was wrong. Frank Lampard, the coach who had asked for his signing, stopped speaking to him at the 4th training session. The British press started calling him the £64 million flop. Christian made 4 phone calls to his father from London. Mark answered none of them. Because Mark, those months of the fall of 2019 and the winter of 2020, was locked in the Hershey house with his back to Kelly, carrying the decision from the Manhattan payphone.
And here, we have to go back to the conversation between father and son inside the family car on Interstate 95 in August of 2013, when Christian was 14 years old. The 4th thing Mark Pulisic told his son that night, inside the family car near Savannah, Georgia, with the rain hitting the windshield, with 14-year-old Christian in the passenger seat, was this. He told him that if Mark ever had to choose between Christian and Kelly, he was going to choose Christian. 4 words. 4 words. Nothing more. Christian, at 14 years old, stayed silent. No questions, no reaction. He just nodded, and that promise is the reason Kelly Pulisic ended up admitted to room 414 of the Penn State Health Milton S. Hershey Medical Center, one January dawn of 2023, with acute nervous breakdown, with a diagnosis of major depressive disorder, with medical orders for absolute rest for the next 4 months, and with Mark Pulisic sitting in the visitor's chair with his hands clasped over his knees, looking at the floor, avoiding eye contact with the woman he had been married to for 31 years. On the night of January 24th, 2023, at 4:14 in the morning, Kelly Pulisic woke up inside room 414. Room dim, Mark asleep in the chair by the window, and Kelly Pulisic, with her eyes fixed on the ceiling, with cold hands, started speaking in a low voice. She spoke for 23 straight minutes with Mark asleep 10 feet from the IV drip. And what Kelly Pulisic said that dawn, addressing the hospital ceiling as if she were speaking to her dead father-in-law, Mate Pulisic of Olib, is the reason Christian Pulisic, 3 weeks later in February of 2023, took the flight from London to Philadelphia, walked into the Hershey house through the back kitchen door, went up to the main bedroom, opened the desk drawer, pulled out the blue-covered notebook, and read page 4 for the first time in his life, and called Roger Whitman in Munich. 4 words: "Get me out of Chelsea." Christian Pulisic had decided, with page 4 of the blue notebook in his hand, with the red handwriting of his father in front of his eyes, that he was not going to keep the promise he had made inside the family car in Savannah one August night of 2013. He was not going to choose between his mother and his father. He was going to choose his mother. And for the first time in 24 years of life, Christian Mate Pulisic made a decision about his career on his own. Outside of Mark, outside of Lars Ricken, outside of Roger Whitman. He signed with AC Milan in the summer of 2023 for 20 million euros, 4 million a year, 4-year contract, and he moved to Milan with the same suitcase he had taken to Germany 9 years earlier, with the tag from Lufthansa Flight 449 of January 4th, 2015, still stuck to the side handle. Kelly Pulisic left the hospital on February 24th, 2023. She settled back into the Hershey house, and she never shared a bedroom with Mark Pulisic again. Mark moved to the guest bedroom upstairs in March. The Pulisic marriage was legally separated in July of 2023. 2 people crossing paths in the hallway of the house without speaking for the next 24 months. And Christian Pulisic, from Milan, started calling his mother, Kelly, every Sunday night. 4 calls a month, 4 one-hour calls each. To his father, Mark, none. And today, 4 years after Christian Pulisic signed with AC Milan, with the United States hosting the World Cup at home for the first time in history, with 70 million American fans waiting for the Monday match against Belgium in Seattle, Christian Pulisic is lying on the stretcher of the USMNT Team Hotel Medical Center with his right calf wrapped from ankle to below the knee. 72 hours before the biggest match of his life. The USMNT doctors described the injury as extraordinarily rare in an active professional soccer player. A right internal pelvic muscle strain, an injury that, according to 4 sports medicine specialists consulted by the American press, has a statistical probability of 1 in a million of appearing in an active pro. 1 in a million. And he got it. The captain of the United States, in the World Cup of his own country.
Have you ever wondered what a 27-year-old American man feels when he understands that the promise his Croatian great-grandfather left half kept at Ellis Island in 1950, the promise his father signed at the bedside in the Long Island Jewish Medical Center in 1985, the promise he himself carried from the passenger seat of the family car in Georgia in 2013, is being kept Monday night against Belgium in Seattle with his right calf wrapped from ankle to knee? Fear, pride, guilt for what it cost Kelly, and the urge to run onto the field even if his calf snaps in the first minute. Christian Pulisic is going to take the field on Monday, with the calf wrapped, with the number 10 on his back, with the captain's armband on his left arm, with 70 million Americans watching on TV. Kelly Pulisic didn't come to the World Cup. Mark Pulisic didn't come either. Christian is in the Seattle hotel room surrounded by USMNT medical staff and no one else from his family, with the blue-covered notebook inside the interior pocket of the backpack, with the tag from Lufthansa Flight 449 still stuck to the side of the suitcase, and with 4 decades of Croatian promises pressing down on his right calf. 4 words. Those are the 4 words Christian Pulisic said to himself inside the Seattle hotel room at 4:15 in the morning of Saturday, July 4th, 2026, 3 days before the match against Belgium. There is no going back. The same 4 words he said to his father in the Kirchherd apartment in January of 2015. The same 4 words he shouted inside the Signal Iduna Park locker room in April of 2016. The same 4 words Mark Pulisic promised grandfather Mate in the Long Island Jewish Medical Center in October of 1985. 4 words. 4 decades of debt. 4 generations of the Puli family of Olib, walking in line behind the captain of the United States. When Christian steps onto the field in Seattle Monday night, great-grandfather Mate, Father Mark, and brother Chase are going to be on the bench with him. And Kelly Pulisic, still a math teacher at the Hershey Public Elementary School, still legally separated from Mark, is going to be sitting on the couch with the handkerchief squeezed inside her left fist, watching her youngest son keep the promise her Croatian father-in-law left half-paid in a Long Island hospital when Kelly hadn't even met him yet. That's Christian Mate Pulisic, the captain of the United States. The grandson of the carpenter from Olib who crossed the Atlantic with $12 in his pocket, and the man who carried 4 decades of Croatian promises to a soccer field in Seattle one Monday in July of 2026, with 70 million Americans watching on TV, and with Kelly Pulisic crying in silence inside a house in Hershey, Pennsylvania. If this story moved something inside you, if you felt the weight of an American father carrying a debt he couldn't repay, if you thought about a son far from home when he was still a kid, if you remembered a mother waiting in silence inside the living room of your own house, subscribe to the Fallen Stars channel right now. And leave in the comments the name of another American icon whose real story still no one has told. See you in the next video, and if you or someone close to you is going through an emotional crisis, call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline for free, any day, any hour. You are never alone.